red coats, and touching the last, she added, "Salt water, quartermaster." All this was being very accurate, and Mabel began to entertain serious doubts as to the propriety of her permitting her visitor to depart without her becoming more explicit. Still, it was so repugnant to her feelings to abuse the confidence this gentle and affectionate creature had evidently reposed in her, that Mabel had no sooner admitted the thought of summoning her uncle than she rejected it as unworthy of herself and unjust to her friend. To aid this good resolution, too, there was the certainty that June would reveal nothing, but take refuge in a stubborn silence if any attempt were made to coerce her. "You think, then, June," Mabel continued, as soon as these thoughts had passed through her mind, "that I had better live in the blockhouse?" "Good place for women. Blockhouse got no scalp. Log stick." "You speak confidently, June, as if you had been in it, and had measured its walls." June laughed, and she looked knowing, though she said nothing. "Does any one but yourself know how to find this island? Have any of the Iroquois seen it?" June looked sad, and she cast her eyes warily about her, as if distrusting a listener. "Tuscarora everywhere. Oswego, here, Frontenac, Mohawk, everywhere. If he see June, kill her." "But we thought that no one knew of this island, and that we had no reason to fear our enemies while on it." "Much eye Iroquois." "Eyes will not always do, June. This spot is hid from ordinary sight, and few of even our own people know how to find it." "One man can tell. Some Yankees talk French." Mabel felt a chill at her heart. All the suspicions against Jasper, which she had hitherto disdained entertaining, crowded in a body on her thoughts, and the sensation that they brought was so sickening, that for an instant she imagined she was about to faint. Arousing herself, and remembering her promise to her father, she arose and walked up and down the hut for a minute, fancying that Jasper's delinquencies were naught to her, though her inmost heart yearned with the desire to think him innocent. "I understand your meaning, June," she then said. "You wish me to know that some one has treacherously told your people where and how to find the island?" June laughed, for in her eyes artifice in war was oftener a merit than a crime, but she was too true to her tribe herself to say more than the occasion required. Her object was to save Mabel, and Mabel only, and she saw no sufficient reason for travelling out of the record, as the lawyers express it, in order to do anything else. "Pale face know now," she added. "Blockhouse good for girl, no matter for men and warriors." "But it is much matter with me, June, for one of these men is my uncle, whom I love, and the others are my countrymen and friends. I must tell them what has passed." "Then June be kill," returned the young Indian quietly, though she evidently spoke with concern. "No, they shall not know that you have been here. Still, they must be on their guard, and we can all go into the blockhouse." "Arrowhead know, see everything, and June be kill. June come to tell young pale face friend, not to tell men. Every warrior watch his own scalp. June woman, and tell woman, no tell man." Mabel was greatly distressed at this declaration of her wild friend, for it was now evident the young creature understood that her communication was to go no further. She was ignorant how far these people considered the point of honor interesting in her keeping the secret, and most of all was she unable to say how far any discretion of her own might actually commit June and endanger her life. All these considerations flashed on her mind, and reflection only rendered their influence more painful. June, too, manifestly viewed the matter gravely, for she began to gather up the different little articles she had dropped in taking Mabel's hand, and was preparing to depart. To attempt detaining her was out of the question, and to part from her, after all she had hazarded to serve her, was repugnant to all the just and kind feelings of our heroine's nature. "June," said she eagerly, folding her arms round the gentle but uneducated being, "we are friends. From me you have nothing to fear, for no one shall know of your visit. If you could give me some signal just before the danger comes, some sign by which to know when to go into the blockhouse, how to take care of myself." June paused, for she had been in earnest in her intention to depart, and then she said quietly, "Bring June pigeon." "A pigeon! Where shall I find a pigeon to bring you?" "Next hut. Bring old one. June go to canoe." "I think I understand you, June; but had I not better lead you back to the bushes, lest you meet some of the men?" "Go out first. Count men. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6." Here June held up her fingers and laughed. "All out of the way. Good. All but one. Call him one side. Then sing, and fetch pigeon." Mabel smiled at the readiness and ingenuity of the girl, and prepared to execute her requests. At the door, however, she stopped, and looked back entreatingly at the Indian woman. "Is there no hope of your telling me more, June?" she said. "Know all now. Blockhouse good. Pigeon tell. Arrowhead kill." The last words sufficed, for Mabel could not urge further communications, when her companion herself told her that the penalty of her revelations might be death by the hand of her husband. Throwing open the door, she made a sign of adieu to June, and went out of the hut. Mabel resorted to the simple expedient of the young Indian girl to ascertain the situation of the different individuals on the island. Instead of looking about her with the intention of recognizing faces and dresses, she merely counted them, and found that 3 still remained at the fire, while 2 had gone to the boat, one of whom was Mr. Muir. The 6th man was her uncle, and he was coolly arranging some fishing tackle at no great distance from the fire. The woman was just entering her own hut, and this accounted for the whole party. Mabel now, affecting to have dropped something, returned nearly to the hut she had left, warbling on air, stooped as if to pick up some object from the ground, and hurried towards the hut June had mentioned. This was a dilapidated structure, and had been converted by the soldiers of the last detachment into a sort of storehouse for their livestock. Among other things, it contained a few dozen pigeons, which were regaling on a pile of wheat that had been brought off from one of the farms plundered on the Canada shore. Mabel had not much difficulty in catching one of these pigeons, although they fluttered and flew about the hut with a noise like that of drums, and, concealing it in her dress, she stole back towards her own hut with the prize. It was empty, and without doing more than cast a glance in at the door, the eager girl hurried down to the shore. She had no difficulty in escaping observation, for the trees and bushes made a complete cover to her person. At the canoe she found June, who took the pigeon, placed it in a basket of her own manufacturing, and repeating the words, "Blockhouse good," she glided out of the bushes and across the narrow passage, as noiselessly as she had come. Mabel waited some time to catch a signal of leave-taking or amity after her friend had landed, but none was given. The adjacent islands, without exception, were as quiet as if no one had ever disturbed the sublime repose of nature, and nowhere could any sign or symptom be discovered, as Mabel then thought, that might denote the proximity of the sort of danger of which June had given notice. On returning, however, from the shore, Mabel was struck with a little circumstance that, in an ordinary situation, would have attracted no attention, but which, now that her suspicions had been aroused, did not pass before her uneasy eye unnoticed.